record on this. Some fancy lady talking to me here now. Now I need to move that to there so we can go like this. Click that. There we go. All right. I think we're winning here. I think we're winning. I think we're winning. Okay. Super. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Right. Awesome. There we go. We've solved the chat. Okay. We are recording. Right. Welcome to the session this evening. I'm actually looking so forward to the session. I think it's going to be really something that's going to get our juices going. So let's just start there. I'm just going to find out what am I pressing. There we go. Awesome. Got it. All right. So we're going to be looking at limiting beliefs this evening. I've had so many conversations over the last 2 weeks and I've realized that a lot of people are suffering with limiting beliefs. And most of people actually are unaware that they actually are suffering with limiting beliefs. So I love the saying, you're only confined by the walls you build yourself. I thought that was very, very, very profound. And we talk about people putting walls up around them and protecting themselves. But sometimes it's even that little wall. I mean, if I think about my dogs are Yorkies. So for me to keep my Yorkies in the garden, I would have to still build a little wall that they can't get out. But it's hindering them from actually going to explore the world, if it were. So some of us, the wall doesn't mean it has to be taller than you. It could be a wall that's knee height and you keep bashing into your legs. So we're all confined by walls that we build ourselves, and therefore sometimes we can't move forward due to that. So limiting beliefs are, we all have unlimited potential, but often our results don't reflect that. And why is because our unconscious beliefs cripple our results. And we've spoken about this before, where we've spoken about if you want to have results, we've got to look at what behavior do I need to get those results. And if I look at that, I need to have a mindset behind that behavior that needs to be developed in order for me to get the results. But if I can't get the mindset right, I'm not going to get the behavior right, which means I'm not going to get the results. So therefore, we've got to go back to what's our conditioning, what's our limiting beliefs. Because if we can't master our limiting beliefs or put into practice our limiting beliefs, and we start not putting them into practice, but putting into practice how to overcome our limiting beliefs, we're never going to be able to move forward. So that's something that's very important for us to have a look at. So we're going to look at that this evening. The more resolved beliefs we have about achieving something, the more potential we can tap into. With greater potential comes greater action. Greater action yields greater results, which is what I've actually just been going through now. So we need to resolve those belief systems if they are limiting us from moving forward. Now, some of us don't understand or haven't grasped the concept, the small wall beliefs that are hindering us. And sometimes we start new projects and we don't realize that we have beliefs or limiting beliefs that will prevent us from moving forward. So our reality basically is a reflection of our strongest belief. So if we think about it, my reality is a reflection of my strongest belief. And so if I don't have a strong belief system in a certain area, then I'm not going to be able to develop in that area. And therefore, I'm only going to be as strong as, we all remember that TV series, Weakest Link, okay? Weakest Link, and our belief system is strong as our strongest belief that we have. So is that your weakest link or is it a strength? We need to work on that and find out what that is. So what are limiting beliefs? Limiting beliefs is a state of mind, it's a conviction, or a belief that you think to be true that limits you in some way. So it's a state of mind, conviction, or a belief that you think to be true that limits you in some way. And this is what we're going to be looking at this evening is what is it that actually, what is my state of mind? What are my convictions? Because sometimes your convictions are actually your weakest link and your weakest belief system. So we need to be careful of what, and understand that we will have conflict with people based on our belief systems. All right. This limiting belief could be about you. It could be about your interactions with other people or within the world, or how the world actually functions, or actually with the world itself. So in other words, your environment. You could have a limiting belief about yourself as an individual, which would be your, what would I say, your self-perception. It could be interactions with others, so it's others' perception. It could be the world itself and how the world functions. And so sometimes it could be communities, it could be families. When we talk about your world, it could be how families functions, and I've just been exposed, this last 2 weeks to seeing how different families function. And it's actually given me quite a big eye opener how different belief systems have. And are my belief systems the limiting ones, or are theirs the limiting ones that they're not actually enabling themselves to actually grow in certain areas? So it's quite an interesting observation when you actually start looking at things around you. Limiting beliefs can be a number of negative effects on you. That's what we're looking at, is saying to ourselves, we're not going to go and look at the negative tonight, but we're going to look at how do we change the negative to a positive. Because if we don't master limiting beliefs, we're not going to be able to move forward in any way whatsoever. Okay, so what are the most common self-limiting beliefs about yourself? So here's some of the things that we might hear ourselves saying. We might hear our children saying it. And if we hear these things, these are what we call self-limiting beliefs. For example, I'm not smart enough, or I don't know enough. Okay, I can't play that game because I don't know enough. I can't play that game because I'm not smart enough. I can't do maths because I'm not smart enough. So that's a limiting belief. It's not just somebody trying to make an excuse. When these words come out of people's mouths, we need to understand that this could be something that we need to work with. And how do we help change that tape recorder that's giving those limiting beliefs? Another one is, I don't have enough time. Believe it or not, that's actually a limiting belief. And if you keep saying, I don't have enough time, you in essence will actually not have enough time. So we need to understand that we all have been given time, and we need to work within that time frame. And within that time frame, we need to manage ourselves. So we actually do have enough time. It's just we're not self-managing. So that's what we've got to learn. And that's how we would change that limiting belief. I don't have enough money. And, the reality is perhaps you don't have enough money, but you don't have enough money for what? In connection to what? In relation to what? So if you had a beggar at the end of the street, at the end of the street, and he says, I don't have enough money. Well, that is a limiting belief for him, because the more he says that, or she says that for that matter, the more they say that, the more they're not going to go and look for options. Their mind is not going to go and look for options. So how does one change that? What does one actually say? And that's what we need to have a look at. No one will listen to me or care about what I have to say. How often have we heard it said in jest, all right, but it's actually could be a truth. So that old saying that says, many a truth is said in jest. And that would be, for example, hey, hi, how are you doing? Oh, no, I'm doing okay. But hey, you know what? No, nobody's going to listen. I'm not doing so good, but nobody's going to really listen. That saying, that's actually a limiting belief, because there are people that are out there that would be willing to listen. So that's some of your self-limiting beliefs about ourselves that I think most of us have said it a few times in our lives. So limiting beliefs about your self-worth, taking this one step further, is I'm a failure. I can't make things happen. I don't deserve a better life. Things just don't work out for me. It's all my parents' fault. I've heard that a lot. People look right through me. That's just my luck. Who am I to have everything I have never ever wanted? Who am I to have everything I ever wanted? And these are very self-worth limiting beliefs. And how often we've heard people say these things and we just thought, no, man, you do. I don't deserve a better life. No, man, you do. Instead of dealing with, oh, wow, that's a limiting belief statement. What is my responsibility to help them to overcome that limiting belief, as opposed to actually saying, no, and we just basically wash it away when people say stuff like this. Okay, it's all my parents' fault. Oh, stop being a yummy yumma bowl and get over it. Why are you saying it's your parents' fault? We're not slowing down in order to identify ourselves, what we're saying, or we're not identifying why people are saying what they're saying. And you know what, when you interact with people, how we could help them overcome their limiting beliefs, and we could help people move to the next level. So let's look at the next one. Limiting beliefs about money. All right. You have to work too hard to get money, or you have to work hard to get money. How often have we said that, especially those of us that are in the more 40 plus generation? We were raised with, you've got to get a good job, go work hard, and set up a pension. That's a limiting belief about money, because you're not going to become an entrepreneur. You're not going to learn entrepreneurial skills. You're not going to try and work out how you can take control of your life. So that's a very big limiting belief. Rich people are greedy, or rich people are evil, or rich people are unhappy. Money makes you unhappy. Money doesn't make you happy. All those are limiting beliefs, and we're trying to project them onto other areas so that we don't have to deal with the fact that we need to actually are responsible for creating our own wealth. My family never had money. Being poor lies in our family. Well, let me tell you what, I can be very honest, and Ant will agree with, will confirm here. My dad, well, it ended up being a very wealthy man, but his family was very, very, very poor. In fact, his sister used to beg on the streets. That's the family I come from. Okay, so that I could say, oh, I have a poor family, so therefore I can't make any money. My family never had any money, so therefore I can't create wealth. And now, really, let me tell you something. Some of my sisters do think like that. And so they are in a situation where we're poor family lines, and I'm not prepared to accept that. Okay, I'm not prepared to have that as a limiting belief. Money just causes fights. Okay, money just causes fights about money. People argue about money. People get divorced about money. So therefore, if we have a lot of money, we're going to get divorced. Those are poor limiting beliefs, not just on money, but also on your relationship. So we need to be very conscious of listening to people's limiting beliefs and how important it is. Robert, I've got a quote from just now, Tony Robbins, should I say? He's very big on limiting beliefs and getting rid of limiting beliefs and how we can conquer limiting beliefs. He's very big on this. So if somebody that is as wealthy as he is still working with limiting beliefs and helping others with limiting beliefs, how much more should you and I be taking this topic very seriously? I'm not good with money. Well, none of us are really good with money, because money's a skill. Being good with money is a skill. We're not born with good money skills. It's something we need to learn to do. I'm always broke. I will never make enough money. I hear this. That's one of my statements I hear from my sisters often. I'll never make enough money. I'm always broke. So why must I bother? Okay. All right. Limiting beliefs about love. I don't deserve to be loved. I will never find another partner. Love is too painful. I will get hurt again. I'm too stupid, fat, ugly to be loved. All men or all women are cheating, or they're all mean, or they're all violent, or drama queens, etc. And we've heard this from people. And when you put a limiting belief on yourself, you actually basically, if you profess it and you speak it out, you're actually cursing yourself with it. So with that in mind, we need to really start being conscious of what limiting beliefs we actually say. And this is where journaling comes in, or making note of what you say on a regular basis and reflecting at the end of the evening. Limiting beliefs about career and business. The economy is bad. I don't have enough credentials. I don't have enough experience. I mean, Anthony was over-experienced. He was like, oh dear, I've got too many qualifications. Now what do we do? So, now and that was eventually we were saying, oh, well, you're overqualified. Don't even bother going for the job. And we started using overqualification as a limiting belief. Okay, seriously, we started using that. So it's very easy to slip into these, why must I bother putting my CV out because I'm overqualified? I can't apply for this job, I'm overqualified. That's a limiting belief, okay? I'm not good at, I hear this often in our industry, I'm not good at sales, I'm not good at marketing, I'm not good with numbers. And these are all skills that can be learned. So we can actually get good at them if we make a decision to actually remove it from a limiting belief. And some people want to just live in this limiting belief space, trust me. So how limiting beliefs actually do affect us. Often we're unconscious about what we believe and how those beliefs affect our actions. So most often we say a lot of these things, or we hear people around us saying them, and we from a subconscious perspective. So we're totally unaware that we actually have these beliefs until we start processing. Our limiting beliefs can cause us to miss out on the things that we want most, and our empowering beliefs can drive us towards the life that we want to live. So we need to really understand the difference between limiting beliefs will prevent us from moving forward. Empowering beliefs are going to drive us towards what we want and what we want out of life. And this is why it's so important for us to find what's my purpose, write down a purpose statement, write down and I'm going to go through how we write down our affirmations and start killing these limiting beliefs and rewriting the story and making sure that we understand that there is a pattern that we need to go through. Okay, whatever your reason, there's always a limiting belief. And please, a lot of us think we don't have any limiting beliefs anywhere, but because it's a subconscious perspective we're working from and we're not aware of it. That's why I said earlier on, the walls that we build, okay, around us, some of those limiting beliefs will be knee high, calf high, ankle high, but when you hit them, they're going to hurt you. I mean, a wall that's ankle high or calf high can trip you up and you can fall. So sometimes we need to understand that limiting, and this is the area that I've been working in this last week, working with highly intelligent people, highly skilled people, people who are know what they're talking about, know what they're doing. And I'm talking about the last 3 weeks of my experience, and this is what's been coming up with a lot of conversations. And yet, when I listen to what people are saying, they're unaware that they're actually professing limiting beliefs. And so this is why this topic was so relevant for me to actually share, because we all have a limiting belief in an area in our lives. And that's what we need to find out, because that limiting belief fuels the empowering beliefs. And if you go back and look at God's word, he always says, and it was something I always taught my children, is that bad company will always corrupt good company, which means that, and also if you try and pull somebody, if somebody is standing on a table and and the strongest person could be on the table and the weakest person can be on the floor, that strongest person more than likely will find it extremely difficult to pull the person off the floor, but it will be easier for the person on the floor to pull the person off the table. And that's what happens with our limiting beliefs, because we're unaware of them. They heck at us and they start destroying the empowering beliefs. And then we end up in a negative spiral and we end up in depression and those kind of things. And we might have started off with very strong empowering beliefs, but limiting beliefs can take a hold. And I needed to talk about limiting beliefs. There's Tony Robbins saying, he says, the only thing that's keeping you from getting what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. And you might be telling a very empowering story, okay? And it might be a very full of yourself story. It might be a very strong story. But in there, when you really listen to your story and you sit in the quietness of a room, you've got to ask yourself, where's that limiting belief? Because if you don't find it, it's going to find you and it's going to bring you down. Because that's the story you're actually telling your subconscious. And we're sometimes not aware of it because we profess out all those big stories. But inside, when we're in those quiet places, and you can sometimes see it in body, in fact, you see it a lot in body language. I was blessed enough to be at a training where we had a lot of people, and observing the body language around the room was actually, wow, it's something we actually really need to train on, because if we don't understand what's happening with our own body language, our subconscious is going to start telling us the wrong stories. So that was very powerful. All right, so how do we get rid of limiting beliefs? I've always got to give you the route out. So this is where you got to make notes now, okay? How do we get rid of limiting beliefs? Because that's what you and I need to start working on a regular basis. Okay, so the first step to transform your self-limiting beliefs is to become aware of them. And this is the hardest part, because if we're not aware of them, how can we actually tackle them? And if we say, oh, I don't have any limiting, I've been working, I've been doing personal growth, and I've been reading this book, and I've been reading that book, and I've been doing personal growth and all these kind of things, so I don't have any limiting beliefs. But if you listen to a person like Tony Robbins and you read his books, he's saying to us, you always have a limiting belief somewhere. and we need to catch it. It's like this. And I've been looking at my garden in the front here, and for three weeks, I keep saying, I must pull those weeds out. I must pull those weeds out. And they were tiny little weeds. Now I looked at them today and I thought, oh, I haven't pulled them out, and they're now starting to be bigger than my plants, which makes my job bigger. And that's your limiting beliefs. Okay, they come there and they just form their own thing. All right, so here's the first one. Write out your negative beliefs. So now you can see how important it is for us to have that awareness. Write out the negative belief. And then the next thing to do is to verbalize it and accept its fear of yours. Accept it's a fear of yours. Sorry, accept it as a fear. So identify it. Whatever it might be. It might be, I'm not going to drive in the rain. I'll never travel when it's raining. Whatever. That's a limiting belief because it's not going to get you to your destination, and you will stay at home. And what happens if it rains for 10 days in a row? You're not going to leave. So you need to verbalize it, because the moment you verbalize it, what you're doing is you're taking it out of your subconscious and you're now putting it out there. And now you're saying, wow, now I need to realize exactly what is holding me back. All right. So it's write it down. My limiting belief is this, and then write down what it is. Okay. And then say it out aloud. Number 2. Okay. Determine what instilled those beliefs. Okay, so I was chatting to one of my colleagues at work, and she came and showed me a picture of her holding a snake, a big yellow snake, a huge thing, like this albino python nonsense thing. I'm not putting that around my neck. Okay, so where did the limiting belief come from that snake's gonna eat me, or it's gonna bite me? Because those snakes don't bite, but there's a limiting belief there. But a person who understands the snake doesn't bite, or whatever it is, will just go and put it around their neck and walk around with it. They have it crawling around their houses and that kind of thing. I'm not advocating you go get but what I'm saying is I have a limiting belief against spiders. I have a limiting belief against snakes. Okay, I have a belief that I know what a belief is with a lion. I'm not going to walk into its den, but I have those limiting beliefs. So therefore, based on them, do I let them empower me by overcoming them, or do I keep them and I'm not going to touch spiders? So Tessie and I, we're still not going to touch spiders, and I'm not going to touch snakes. And that's where it is. Okay, but determine where that belief came from. All right. So we're influenced by many things, mainly people. For example, we're influenced by news, media, friends, colleagues. Family is a very big influence on what we believe is true. Okay, so it's important for us to just identify where did that belief come from? Because if we do know where it came from, we know its source, and we can always cut the snake's head off. Okay. Sometimes our deepest fears are from traumatic encounters, childhood memories, and other people's fears projected onto us. Guys, we do it with our children. They run around, kamikaze around the garden, they climb up trees, they jump out trees, and all the rest of it, until we see that. And then we say, don't jump out of the tree. You're going to fall and break your neck. You're going to fall and break your arm. And sure as that's what happened within the next two weeks, they do fall out the tree and they do break their arm. All right, so we mean well, and people will say to you, please don't join that company because they're a bunch of crooks, whatever it might be. And so you won't do that. You've lost so much money in this, that, and the next thing. So therefore, don't go and put your money in anything else. And so you don't go do it. So be very careful what fears get projected onto us. Just know that when it is a limiting belief, I'm not going to invest my money anymore in cryptocurrency. Okay, great. Now that's really seriously a limiting belief. Where did the limiting belief come from? How is the limiting belief there? What was your experiences around the limiting belief? And work from there. So that's what you need to go and start looking at. All right. The next step is to get rid of your limiting beliefs by finding out the source. Okay, I've been through that. So the source is very important. So most of us could say, oh, well, our sources, we invested with such and such a company and it crashed, and we did that company and it crashed, and we did that company and it crashed. So therefore, I'm never going to touch cryptos again. Okay, everybody in the cryptocurrency space are crooks. All right. Well, then you're going to miss the biggest revolution that is happening since the barter days. All right. And right now, if you're still trying to barter, you're going to miss the money system that is currently working. So that's the reality of it. Okay. Now, what we need to do is once you've written it down, you've identified the source. Now we need to say, okay, what is the positive side of this? What is the positive way for me to overcome that limiting belief? So, right, now's the good part of the process, not the negative part anymore. So, what new belief do you want to believe? That's what you've actually got to say. So, if I really wanted to go on a journey of overcoming the fear of spiders, I would then have to really find an amazing reason to want to go and pick up a tarantula. That ain't going to happen. So therefore, I'm not going to deal with that limiting belief. All right. So rather go along and say, what's my new belief? I believe that, yes, I did invest my money in previous companies and I lost that, but I now am putting myself on a journey. I'm going to go and learn from reputable people on how to get back on track. So change I'm not going to invest in cryptos anymore to I need to learn more about it. Okay. And change it into a positive. So you get to decide. At this point in time, you decide, do I want to keep the limiting belief or do I want to move on? And it's okay either way. Just know that you won't move forward if you do keep your limiting belief, depending on what it is. Okay, number 4, look for evidence. So now you've identified you have a limiting belief in this area, or somebody has pointed it out because they asked permission. You said something, and you said, "Do you mind if I just hear you word your words a certain way? Do you mind if I highlight something that I've observed?" And they might say, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Then you say, "Look, when you said this is how I perceived it," and so now it's up to them to go away and think, oh, well, okay, that is a limiting belief. And I was on a course and I identified that as a limiting belief. So now they write it down and say to them, go write it down and just see where it comes from, and then write a positive statement to overcome that. But now when we start looking for evidence, what we've got to start saying to ourselves is it's going to take time for that new belief to start sinking in. All right. So a way to speed this up is to look for evidence that validates the empowering belief side of the belief. For example, finding role models that fit into these new beliefs and learn from them. So I lost a lot of money in the cryptocurrency space over the December period, and I decided that I needed to now seriously go and listen to people and actually sit side by side. I'm not saying that the role model could be your best role model, but they role models in the area. You don't have to like the role model. Nothing in the world says you have to like a role model. All you need to do is admire what they do. All right. So that's a very big thing. You might not have to like them. Go and sit with them and learn from them. That's where you're going to start growing quickly. Because if you're just going to do affirmations, you're going to take a long time before this starts happening. So you need to go and look for evidence. And this is where people fall short. They go write the affirmation because they're too embarrassed to say, I have a limiting belief in this area and I need to work through it. So therefore, bless you. Therefore, would you help me to do whatever it is and then learn from them? Okay. And sometimes we don't like what our role models say to us. Right. Now, you found a role model. Now what you're going to do is think of the worst case. Okay, so if I didn't overcome my fear of whatever it might be, or if I didn't overcome this limiting belief of the fact that I'm not going to invest in cryptocurrencies ever again, or whatever it might be, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Well, I might not be able to transact one day because they might have completely changed the money system, and then what's going to happen to me? So that's a really radical worst case scenario. And how will I overcome it? Well, I won't be able to overcome it because the system has changed and I'm then going to have to learn. It's exactly the same thing as I remember my dad saying, I will not have a computer in my office and I will not have a cell phone. Well, Dad, guess what? Eventually you had to, because your bookkeeper said, well, I'm not going to capture handwritten paperwork anymore. So now when you didn't get in at the time, now it was a whole old, I mean, my dad used to use a cell phone like a walkie-talkie because he refused to get in with the cell phones, okay, when they first came out. And that's the kind of worst case scenario. It's going to happen with or without you. Now, how are you going to overcome it? Okay, so this may sound counterproductive, but when you finally come to terms with the absolute worst case scenario, you'll realize I actually will be okay if this happens. All right. So the worst case scenario is, oh my gosh, I'm going to overcome the fear of snakes. And the next time I'm in a snake park and my grandchildren are there and I have to go and hold the snake. Well, okay, worst case scenario, I actually have to hold the snake so that they can see Granny's really, really a tough auntie. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, am I going to die? No. Okay. They're not going to give me a snake that's going to bite me. All right. And if it's going to be slimy, but yeah. All right. But write down what's the worst case scenario, because you need to tell your mind that you can overcome it. And that's why you're going to write down the worst case scenario on limiting beliefs. Okay. Number 6, now you start reciting affirmations. This is a very crucial step on how to rewire your brain. So we have to do the other part, because if we don't do the other steps, when it comes to affirmations, we will not put action behind our affirmations. So affirmation, I mean, we could have written that right at the very beginning. Here's my limiting belief. Here's the positive side of it. And here's the affirmation. I'm going to go repeat it. But we need to put steps to this so that when we are actually telling our brain will then actively start going to do something. And then we too will start doing something, and we'll start stating that, oh gosh, this is actually okay, I can do this. And we start putting our mind, our subconscious, we're starting to rewire that, and we're starting to put it into the right perspective. Okay. Right. So identifying and transforming your self-limiting belief requires a lot of inner work. And that's what you need to realize. You either can, you do, or you don't want to deal with limiting beliefs. So for example, I've just been given a big project that I need to be doing. And if I go into that big project with limiting beliefs, I'm not going to actually be able to do the job. So I need to work on limiting beliefs in a certain area, like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, and maybe I can't go and meet with that person. I need to overcome limiting beliefs very quickly. Okay. You might not be able to uncover the very beliefs holding you back from the life of your dreams, but you can start limiting them so that you can start having a life of dreams. Journaling can be a powerful tool to shine the light on your beliefs that guide you and your thinking through your actions. So journaling is very important because with journaling will come the right affirmation that you need to overcome that particular limiting belief. And remember, we all have limiting beliefs. Okay, so simply ask yourself, why is it not possible for me to achieve my dreams? And let your thoughts flow on paper. Just ask, why is it not possible for me to achieve my dreams right now? What is it? And sit quietly, and you will find that your limiting beliefs will naturally, because your mind is going to tell you why you can't achieve your dreams, because your mind is trying to protect you. So your mind wants to keep you in your comfort zone, which it wants to keep you with limiting beliefs. Because if you break those barriers, then your mind is like, oh my gosh, now I've got to develop a whole new set of limiting beliefs. And that's why we always have limiting beliefs. It doesn't matter who you are, you'll have a limiting belief to go, because the limiting belief, when you hit it, tells you that, I have a barrier that I need to overcome. When I overcome that barrier, I can move on to the next place. Right. The more you question your thinking, the more you're able to get all the way down to what deeply roots your beliefs. Okay. So you need to ask, why did that thought come up? What did I think about that? What's it about this? Why shouldn't I be doing that? Okay. So your limiting beliefs will prevent you if you don't understand where they're coming from. So that's limiting beliefs and how I'm going to stop share. There we go. Okay, so who would like to share what they've learned, or what perspective was a new highlight, although we do know what limiting beliefs are? Who would like to start? Do you want to say anything? You'll have to lean forward and come into the picture.
I don't know why you always expect me to start, but okay, I'll lead. Yes, it's true.
Okay, Vilma can start. Here we go. Vilma's going to start. Awesome, Vilma. Go.
Okay, I recognize everything you said there. We don't always have to agree with everything, but like your fear of spiders, I think fear is not always a negative emotion.
I agree with you.
You could also see it as a respect of the possibility or the capability of the spider.
Yes.
The spider has got an unlimited belief. but that's why he dies.
Absolutely.
When he comes to my space. Yeah. What I basically wanted to say is how to unlimit your limited beliefs. I think as a parent, it is one of the most crucial abilities that you would have to empower your child, to teach him that he can be anything that he wants to be, that he aspires to be.
Absolutely.
And the example now, most of you have met Stevie. We were told at the age of 2 that we must not put any goals in this child's life because we'd only be disappointed. We turned away and never went back. And we just treated him like all the other kids. We did whatever therapies and whatever. And today he's such a stunning young man.
Yes.
His problem is coordination. Yet he's done 11 mid-mile miles.
Wow.
He wanted to go and swim, and I let him swim. And I sat there squeezing my eyes closed because I couldn't stand the idea that he wanted to do it and he might not be able to do so. I have limited beliefs.
Wow.
But he didn't. So I think very often a child with a challenge in his life is such a good example to follow in unlimiting your limited beliefs. Because as long as you don't limit them, they go a heck of a lot further than what a society would have put parameters on them.
Wow, so true. Awesome. Thanks, Vilma. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Right, George, you went camera on first. Do you want to share? And then Willie?
No, I just wanted to, I want to just add what Vilma said. There's a difference between, when it comes to a snake and a lion and stuff like that, there's a difference between limiting beliefs and being plain stupid.
I agree. 100%. Definitely a lion, I have to agree. And some snakes. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, George. Yes, Willie. Okay, you're still muted. Yeah, there we go.
Affirmations. When I was younger, I did not believe in myself, and also that your mates could downgrade you. And I've learned and read somewhere to affirm that to say every morning I will attract the right people, and eventually that starts happening if you carry on with that affirmations, and that one later on realize in life that
absolutely
happens.
Awesome. Thank you. So important, the affirmations, the verbal affirmation. Yes, and
well, I want to tell you candidly that up until 2015, I really had a firm unbelief in terms of financial success. My father used to say money doesn't grow in trees, and I never knew how much that actually stuck in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And in 2014, we were successful, but in 2015 lost everything in one day. And then they came back to me, there's a lot of rich people, but richness is not destined for me, which was a very, very limiting belief. And in a time when I didn't have work, Michelle just went to a conference that started working on helping people with mindset. Now, the silly thing is, I was a coach at that time, but I myself could not respond to believing the impossible about my circumstance. And at this seminar, I actually brought up that, you know, money doesn't grow up and grow on trees. And the guy just asked me one question and said to me, I don't know what's happening in your country, but in our country, we have paper mills. And we actually cut trees to get to paper. And you know what we do with the paper? We print money on the paper. So strategically, money does grow in trees. And I just put that new belief in my mind. And I started saying, money does grow in trees. And from that moment, it was a journey of 2 to 3 years when I started firmly believing that money is within our hold. But I really was tripped up all the time by my dad, and I could hear his voice and saying that money doesn't grow in trees, and how that held me back until we had that breakthrough at a time when it was most needed, but when we couldn't afford it. Now, that was a test of belief at the time, is will you put money into education at a time when you cannot afford it?
Yeah.
That made all the difference in my life.
It did. And that was changing the thing. Yes, George?
Michelle, what I would just like to say is, I don't know who knows me, but I've been a soldier for 22 years of my life, and what you said tonight, and going through all these processes, just took me back to the way that that you got an order for attacking a enemy base or whatever the case may be. So the first thing that comes into your mind is fear, and there's a lot of limiting beliefs if you will be able to do this. So what we had in the military was a process of planning and a process of doing an appreciation of this attack or this enemy base that you were supposed to attack. And when you go through that process, we had certain steps that you had to follow through this whole process. And this is a normal procedure in any military, as far as I know. And as you go through this process and all the stuff that you add and the support that you get from different people in your team, just takes that limiting belief away, and that takes you forward, that when you start with this attack, whatever you planned is in your head, and I mean, you just execute what you planned and you get the attack done. So what you were talking about here tonight boils down to getting whatever your limiting belief is to just to do the planning, and it comes out in everything that you said tonight, is that you just got to get a process of going through this to sort out this limiting belief, and then you'll get it right. I mean, you just do it. So this is what it brought back to me when I listened to all the stuff that you went through here tonight. So yeah. My 2 cents, that's all.
No, excellent. That's more than 2 cents. That's like really awesome, because it is so true. That's so, when you actually started likening it to sort of like making sure that you understand the roles, responsibilities, what you've got to do, the action plans, you had to be very proactive in making sure that you were successful. So therefore, it makes sense for you and I to be very proactive to overcome limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and in that, I mean, the fact that you were taking people with you, and that you had people that could lose their lives if you buggered it up. You know, that is a big fear in any person that is a leader, to lose people in a fight like that. I mean, yes, you can, and it's but it's still it's a big worry for any commander taking people into a fight like that. I mean, it's just massive in your head to lose people. It's just like that.
Yeah.
George, I just want to latch on to what you were saying, because I mean, you're a colonel in the army, so you're a high-ranking officer, and I want to relate to when I was a troop. I could never understand why they would make me run senselessly around a tree and run around a tree, because to me it just didn't make sense. But the truth is, you know, we used to say practice makes perfect, but it's not true. Practice makes permanent. Because at the time when we were at war and we hit contact, your second subconscious takes over, and you just obviously, just because you did it over and over and over, you actually were able to go into the right actions, do the right things, and it was second nature. So for me, it was understanding that with this, we talk about affirmations, but if you repeat it, if you journal it, you repeat it, that you can actually make something like that, not perfect, but permanent in your mind, and your mind will know how to cope with that situation when you're under a stress situation, and that saved our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And at one stage, I ran with a kit on my back, chasing enemy of 11 kilos in that sand, with kit on your back, and you just didn't get tired. Well, there could have been adrenaline as well, but the fact that you were fit, and the training that you had, and you were not scared to run after them, it's just because of what Anthony said now. So yeah, but I mean, this is all part of planning of taking a fear away, that I could pull through on what you said tonight. So
brilliant.
I just thought back on how we did it, you know, going through these fears in your task as a military man. So it was just it just related. So yeah, I just wanted to put my ideas out there.
Awesome. And it's about reconditioning. So if you do want to change a behavior pattern, it's that reconditioning, so that, and it's exactly the same as you'll always default to your weakest habit, always. So that is why you get your Olympic swimmers, for example, or your Olympic athletes, or whatever it is, your basketball guys. Why do you think they practice? They practice and practice and practice, so that when they default or when they get tired, they, as George says, you're running 11Ks, you got your kit on, you're running, you're just going, yes, adrenaline is there, but because you've conditioned your body to be able to handle what you're going through, your body just goes through it. Is it tired at the end? Absolutely. And that's the same thing with us. And we're forgetting to recondition our minds. We're forgetting to spend the time in those daily affirmations, writing them down, writing your goals down. George does it almost every single day. I can tell you, every single day he'll open up his journal, he'll write down his goals every single day. He writes down his affirmations and he says them. And when I say that, I mean, we've known George and Tessa for a long time, and we've all got hit hard in one of our networking businesses. But hey, you know what? It was weeks before George was back on track again, because he didn't hold it down. He sat there, he wrote, he said, okay, where am I now? Re-evaluating and making sure that you move forward from there. And it has to be done yourself. Sonia, thank you for sharing what you're sharing. That's absolutely phenomenal. And I agree with you. The reason why we're doing this is because I need to work through some limiting beliefs. And that's why I thought, where am I right now? What are my stumbling blocks? What is preventing me from moving forward? Because I asked myself the question, and the word limiting belief came up. And then I started listening to a whole lot of people around me, you know, over the last few days, and listening to a few conversations and listening to what comes from people's mouths. And they're saying exactly that same thing. Everybody's suffering the same thing: self-confidence, fear of rejection. And also, you know, we all say we're not good at sales and we're not good networkers and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's am I willing to learn the skill? That's what you've got to ask yourself. Yes, I am the worst salesperson on planet Earth, but I needed to learn a skill. And so when I learned the skill, that my skill was not to sell my product, my skill was to inform and educate people, what made it so much easier. So all I do is inform people, educate people, and they decide for themselves. So thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome. Yes, Leonie.
Hi everyone. What I just realized tonight actually is that starting with the tangibles is so much easier than actually to go into the deeper stuff, as to looking for reasons why to, or why I do certain things, or why I don't do certain things. Yeah. And I'm not running 11 kilometers at all. So I wish one day I'll get there, but not yet. But last week, I shared it with you. I actually really faced something that was tremendous for me. We're in hospitality. We've been for quite a few years. And the Tsitsikamma Storms River is just around the corner from us. But I was I am in limbo, working on it, afraid of heights, that I never even Googled what the treetops were. I thought you were walking over cables. So I made an appointment for my children who just recently got married. So my daughter-in-law was there, so I really had to be the cool mother-in-law. So we actually went there, and I said to Rian, okay, this is it. I'm going to do this, because I realized if I want to push my boundaries in terms of the way I think and challenging myself the way I think, then start with the tangibles. Start with, you won't fall. No one has fallen for 20 years. Yeah. They say, well, not to be the first, but
and then your mind says, oh, but there's always the first time. Hey.
Yes, but let's not go there.
See, the limiting belief protects you. Shows you how the limiting belief wants to protect you. Your mind wants to protect you.
And Rian was ready to, and I was ready to wear my sunglasses. And Rian said, okay, we decided if I start crying, that's going to be fine. He's just going to leave me. I'm going to work through it and everything. And I actually got through it great. And I thought, wow, I pushed my boundaries. Awesome. But then again, it's easier to write it down. I'm afraid of heights. What am I going to do? I'm not going to fall. No one has fallen. And I thought to myself, last time I went for the elephants, a week later, someone was trampled. So let's not be that one of the cases.
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
No, it wasn't. But so yeah, it's just, I realized, and it's awesome how the Lord actually takes me on a path. Last week doing this art, and now addressing this, and just realizing, but hang on, you did this. So it's possible the way you think. Start with a non-tangible thing, yes. This stuff that you don't want to really say aloud to yourself. So yeah, thanks for that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And that's so true. And then that's why I say it's got to be backed with action. It's got to be backed with action, because if we don't, then that's why we've got to say, what is it that's stopping me? Why would it stop me? And what am I going to do about it? So just plain old affirmations is not going to change it. You've got to go out there and go and do that. Like, I'm not scared of heights. I've overcome. I love heights. Oh, I can stand on the end of a bridge until you get there. It's like, yeah, I get it. Awesome. Yes. Anybody else want to share? Vilma, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to say something that you said made me think of something, that something worse or more difficult almost to conquer is not a fear of failure, but a fear of success.
Yep. And people have a very big limiting belief around that. Yeah. A lot of people do.
Yeah. Because once, when you fail, you can try or make attempts at success, but when you succeed, you need to also maintain success.
Absolutely. My one sister said exactly that to me. She looked at me and she said, she was sitting and she said, I admire you for what you've done, and I admire you for what you're doing. She said, but I don't want that success, because I don't want the responsibility that comes with it. She actually said that to me. I'd rather stay with little and not have the responsibility that you're putting on yourself. And now I've made it my responsibility to make sure that when she has to retire, that I'm not looking after her, because I'm going to end up having to look after her, because she didn't want to take responsibility for it. And there's no ways I'm going to have her standing on the corner of the street like my aunt did. And that's a reality, because she just doesn't want to take responsibility. But somebody's going to end up picking up that responsibility, and it's going to be Anthony and I. But we know it.
Just think about it, guys. Really, here's one family. The one is a multimillionaire, highly successful with 4 businesses, but his own sister chooses to beg on a street corner.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing from a psychology point of view. I really battled with that for a long, long time. I really did. Yeah. And the thing is, the one just believes I can do it. And the other one says it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And what I heard there, and just what your sister said, again, but it's just not worth it. Well, how would you know if you haven't tried?
And she just doesn't want the responsibility. So she'd rather not put petrol in a car and go walk to work. That's that kind of mentality. Well, I'm not going to work hard for it. That kind of thing. Yes, George. No, just looking. Cool.
May I say something to one of our fellow students?
You're welcome to, if they're willing to have you say something to them.
I want to say something to Sonia. Sonia, you really inspire me tonight. I want you to know why. When we started, you know, it must have been the first 3 or 4 weeks that the fact that you were so quiet, I knew that you're a very quiet person. But if I just see today how you are interacting and you are coming to the party and you really are sharing your feelings, you inspire me. You inspire me to believe that as a person who seemingly had the belief of, you know, I don't communicate with people, I'm quiet, has come out of her shell, because it's obvious, because I've seen you grow the spirit. I just want to tell you that you inspire me tonight.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Awesome.
Thank you very much, Doc, and I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, Carol knows me as well. I'm a very quiet person. I'm the background person. I'm not someone that really talks to anyone or go out there and just interact with people that I don't know. But this whole process has really made me think a lot about what's going on inside my head, in my mind. The small voice that keeps on telling me, watch out for people. They're going to say no. They're going to reject you. You're not strong enough to take that. And I must say, and every time I speak to Carol as well, I can't wait for next week.
Awesome.
Everything last week I was down and out. It was a struggle for me last week. And this afternoon I saw, okay, the link is not sent yet. But wait, Dr. Michelle will send the link. And when I saw the link, I got excited from inside out.
Awesome.
And I must say, this whole journey is taking me on a road where I actually start believing in myself.
Wow. Wow.
And I can't say thank you enough. Really.
We see it and we sense it. You encourage me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really,
I want to say with Sonia, what you said is absolutely correct. I mean, I'm a much more outgoing person and I talk very easily. But I must tell you that Michelle inspire you definitely. I mean, you inspire me as well. That your pure determination to dedication is amazing. You don't often find that in people. Like Sonia says, I look forward. I mean, I was devastated last week. There was no meeting. But so, I mean, like today, it was very taxing. So I'm curled up in bed. That's why my video is not on. But I cannot stand to miss it.
Awesome.
Because I'm going to miss out on something that you say.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. And I do apologize for last week, but I was finished. I had limiting beliefs of staying. No, I had beliefs that I couldn't stay awake. But awesome. Thank you very much. I totally appreciate it. Michelle, I agree with you 100%. Past experiences played a big role in limiting beliefs. Now I have to work on getting rid of the negative beliefs and replacing with God has put in me. Absolutely. And who you are and created in him and the ability to overcome, because you have him in you and you can continue to walk that way. And it's just identifying what the limiting belief is. If we can just start there, and even if let's say 5 or 6 limiting beliefs do come up, work on one at a time. Don't try and work on all 5 at the same time. Just choose one, go through it, process it, get a small win on that one, then work on the next one and move it on, because we all have limiting beliefs. And my biggest limiting, that's awesome. Thanks, Wayne and Liz. I really appreciate it. My limiting belief is that I can't interact intelligently with senior, when I talk senior, maybe 20 years older than I am, men. Not Anthony. He's like really, he's
10 years older.
Like, oh my heavens. And it's a limiting belief for me. So if I'm in a room, and we had a couple of them, maybe a couple in the training. And if I made eye contact or I saw them in the room, I started falling apart, and I had to really get my head around it. And I really had, I had to make sure that my headspace was in the right place. And once or twice I didn't even go to lunch because I had to go and deal with a limiting belief that had just hit me in a session beforehand because I'd made eye contact, or that person had spoken, or had done something while I was training, and that limiting belief came back. It rocketed me and took me out. And then I had to get myself going again, purposefully before the next session, approach that person, chat with them, just to get to, see, it wasn't so bad. You didn't die. Okay, you can get back. So those limiting beliefs are from history, and I do agree with you. They pop up, but we need to know what they are so we can actually literally deal with them. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to quickly type in and say one thing that they've learned, or we can wrap it up? It is on the hour. You're all good?
I'll start by saying what I learned, and that is that sometimes you come crashing against something, and it could just be a little hole that is knee high, and even can just be an ankle high, and you could trip you up. That was my aha tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. Right. Like an elephant. Happy for happy. Yeah.
Happy, Michelle. Happy.
Happy for happy. As I'm like, happy for happy. And I'm like, no, thank you, George, for the translation. We're not going to go happy for happy, but we're going to go happy for happy. Oh, dear goodness, it catches me every time. Yes, Waterflick. Awesome, Wilma. It's an absolute pleasure. Learn to last, definitely identify limiting beliefs. Anton, awesome. Thank you, Sonia. Really appreciate. Yep, God has got a total plan for all of us. Willie's shared, Leonie's shared. Brenda, you're all good? Okay, Michelle, Wilma's shared. Michelle, Lana, are you good? Marina? Anything you guys want to type in, add that you learned? Otherwise, we will wrap it up.
I want to say one more thing, Michelle.
Go for it.
Payment, because it wasn't from the 1st of the month. You said something about the 10th of May, but I just made another payment. I just want to know that are we going to do it per calendar month, or because I honestly think, and that's just my opinion, that whether you have a session or not, like last week, for example, that happens. That does, if I go on holiday, that doesn't mean to say that I don't pay rent.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
I think that we should maybe, and I think as a group we can maybe maybe agree on that it's a monthly payment. Awesome. There you go. That's your first one. Awesome. that we do it per calendar month, whether there is a session or not. And then there's if ever that there is another day or whatever, that you do something else, that you give somebody an opportunity, that would be great, but that must not be a condition. Okay. So that's just my opinion.
Thank you very much. And that was on my cards to do tomorrow, is because some are the 15th, some are the 12th, some of the 13th, was just to remind everybody. So
from the 1st of the month.
I'll make it from the 1st of the month. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll contact each person individually, and then we will take it from there. Great. Thank you very much. Everybody finished? Thank you. God bless you. Mwah. Love you all. See you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.